will present part 3 of his series tonight on Toronto's News, City Pulse at 6. The quality of conversation we have with ourselves on a daily basis can affect the results you get or lack thereof. Joining us with more, life coach and personal effectiveness trainer Robin H.C. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Ann.
So it's okay to have a conversation with yourself, because I talk to myself all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. We all do, whether we're aware of it or not. We are constantly engaged in a conversation with ourselves, almost like there's more than one person inside, right? and it's sort of that the internal dialogue is that ongoing commentary of just evaluating everything that we do, say, the people we experience, and it's that constant chatter.
How do you determine what of that chatter you should listen to and what you might want to block out? Or do you just say, I'm going to listen to everything I have to say and deal with it?
Well, one thing you can do is, just as an awareness, is for a day or two is to listen to everything that you're saying, because it's very interesting if you really start to tune in. But really what we want to look at for effectiveness is to actually, it's kind of like years ago in the Flintstones, there would be the little devil Fred and the angel Fred.
I remember it well.
And so it's like we want to look at which is the angel one that, there's one you want to sort of flick off and tell it what to do.
Did you just flick off your angel one?
No, sorry, that was the devil one. Sorry, that the angel is over here. And the angel one is the one that you want to empower yourself through. Yeah. And that one, it may be that the sort of the negative voice is more predominant, and you actually want to look to really giving some strength to the positive voice.
As on-air people, whether you're in radio or in television or speaking to groups, you can learn how to train your voice to be effective. Can you do the same to the inner voice? Can you train it to be concise, succinct, to make sense, and to be listenable?
Well, yeah, and to be consistent with all your goals in life, because if we start out, and weight loss is obviously an example I use a lot, but we start working out and your internal dialogue is going like, oh, I'm never going to lose weight, I've always been overweight, my family's big, I'm not good at exercise, and that kind of conversation is really going to compromise your results. So you just want to get into like, I can do this, I'm not sure how, and I can, and I'm committed to it. And when we're having those negative thoughts, is to actually really, like, with a lot of emotion, say cancel, like just inside of our head. If you're alone, you can do it out loud too, right?
You can do anything in downtown Toronto, I think, and get
on
away
the streetcar, I think,
yeah,
would be
why
fun.
not?
but just not to tolerate that from yourself, because it really, actually a great example is whenever I have salt and vinegar chips, my mouth starts to water beforehand. And a dog, when you pull out the food,
it's in anticipation.
And that is the power of thought. And we overlook physiologically how much impact our thinking actually has on our body. And when you start to eliminate negative thinking, when you do engage in it, you're really aware of it, because it just sort of floods through your body.
It's interesting. I find, too, that some of my thoughts during the day, whether I acknowledge them or not, leak into my sleep. And so I find them in my dreams. And there I have very little control. At least in an inner dialogue, you can kind of say, shush, that's enough, or no more negative. But your dreams, and I'm not sure where, if we're looking at speaking out loud, your inner voice, and then going into the dream state, if there's any way to capitalize on what your brain is doing at that point, or at least guide it, so you don't have really negative dreams as well.
Actually, a great question. And it is the first 30 minutes and the last 30 minutes of the day, our mind is most susceptible for programming.
Is this when you're awake or asleep, do you think?
This is just before you go to sleep.
Right.
And one of the best things you can do as falling asleep is be dreaming. Thinking about your goals. What do I want to achieve? Imagine it happening. Like it just cues the subconscious, because we put so much into the subconscious all day. And what we put in last at the end of night is more likely to be repeated, 20 times more likely that we're going to actually think of whatever it was that happened in the last half hour. So it's really crucial that we make sure that we're doing positive things.
This is one perfect opportunity, and I always like people to walk away from an interview listening to you with a gem that they can kind of walk away with and deal with throughout the day. What's your best advice?
I think an elastic band works great to just get into the habit of not tolerating negative thinking.
So if you have an elastic band with you,
pull it.
It reminds you, don't. No more negative.
And you pull it every time you have a negative thought. And I did this for a while. I had a couple of welts, but I started to associate negative thinking with physical pain.
Very good.
And that was a great motivator for me.
You're amazing. Thank you, Robin.
Thanks, Ann.
Entertainment coming up next. We'll be right back.